never mind.
We're live on YouTube.
We are.
Whatever you're about to ask, you can say it in front of our
If you could also get a
hundreds of
glimpse
friends.
of what's going on in my dome at all times.
I wish I had
The
that.
amount of starts and stops that happen.
You know, if AI could make that happen for me, I would love to get a glimpse of what's happening in your dome.
Wouldn't wish that on anybody.
You ready, mate?
Yeah.
Okay. You ready, Cam? All right. Hey, welcome, everybody, to the weekly edition of the Not Your Average Investor Show. Today, we've got a hot topic. We're talking about the Trump accounts have officially been instated. We're going to talk about what they are. Our boy GC has done some really interesting research of what it can mean for your family, how you can kind of like adapt this to real estate investing. And it's really interesting because it's all happening around the same time as 401ks that are at an all-time high, and yet our confidence in retirement as Americans is at an all-time low. And then we're going to address a question from the patron Santorius, who asked, what happens when you hand over your real estate portfolio to your heirs, right? So it's going to be a meaty show today. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, a man that I affectionately like to call GC because he's got the genius concepts, knows how to generate cash flow, and is a great co-host. And because his name is Greg Cohen. Say hello, GC.
Hello, everybody. Fantastic to be with you today.
And we have a live studio participant on the other side of the glass today. A young Cameron Cohen is back there, just giving him a shout out. He's not going to come on camera today, but I wanted him to hear his name. And he gets to be the first one in our weekly tradition, which is what you see.
The roll call, baby.
What do we got? We got our leadoff hitter hitting first today.
John Henning.
As is tradition, we got Il Maestro checking in.
John Williams.
From Long Island, New York, the world famous composer. We've got Mark Norman checking in.
All right, Mark. Good
Mark,
to see you, my man.
Do we have a nickname for Mark?
I think we need one.
I mean,
after two, if you're going to be in like the top 5 of call outs, we absolutely have to have a nickname. Mark, let's work on that.
Mark, we owe you one. We got Saran with the plan. Saran Jennings from New Jersey checking in. We got Belinda from Dallas.
My buddy Belinda
checking in. We got the KOB King of the Beach.
Christopher Lee
from Fernandina Beach. We got the MVP. Everybody knows that guy.
Mr. Lee Bishop.
We got
Drew
Barnhill checking in. We got Le Monsieur from
Reggie
Fonse. I was just chatting with Reggie earlier. He is taking a road trip from Southern California across the 10 to Jacksonville and all the way north to Maine.
Coming away.
Pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Cool. That's just little things that our community does that is super cool. Our favorite smile from the Pacific Northwest.
Ms. Pamela
Myers. Good to have you. We've got Not Your Average Guest. If you're checking in from the text, you show up as Not Your Average Guest. So somebody's saying hello, everybody. You got to let me know who you are so I can say your name and shout you out. We got MJ from NJ.
All right, MJ. Good to see you, man.
MJ Rueda checking in. Good to have you. We got
Billy Green.
The Toasted Rounds of Colorado. We've got Ron from Pleasanton, California.
He was here last week, too.
He was here last
week.
So
nice to see you,
So pleasant to see you here, Ron. Good to have you. Dave from Massachusetts checking in with the Not Your Average Guest. Good to have you, Dave. We got our friend Justine Herrera from Burbank, your ride-along partner.
That's right, my ride-along partner,
and future guest investor on the Not Your Average Investor Show.
Can't wait.
Took a call with her yesterday. She's got some interesting takes on passive versus active.
Very cool.
And educating her friends on how to be a real estate investor. It's going to be a good one, Justine. Can't wait to have you on. HTTN is in the house. Good to have you, HT.
Right.
We've got, Venny. Venny's in the house.
Venny.
We haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Welcome, Venny. Good to have you. Who else we got in here? We got Alejandro from Tampa.
All right.
Checking in, Alejandro. Welcome back, my friend. Marie from Scottsdale.
Marie Rockoff.
Good to have you, Marie Rockoff. And Venny, we missed you too. I saw, Venny and I are friends on social media.
Oh, yeah.
She had a pretty epic vacation to Greece with the family.
Oh, I bet.
Which I imagine the pictures aren't doing it justice. So looked amazing.
Can't wait to hear about it.
And Stacy from Alaska checking in. Stacy Phillips, new name.
New name. That's amazing.
Welcome to the community, Stacy.
Right.
And Greg from Dallas as well. Also checking in, Greg Wooten, a new Greg.
All right.
We already have the better Greg.
That's right.
Then we have this guy over here, Greg from Dallas. We're going to have
Greg.
The new Greg.
The new and improved Greg?
The new Greg. Anyways, for those of you checking, and El Gran Amigo is checking in with a Buenas tardes desde Dubai.
Bill Shields.
Bill Shields. Good to have you, buddy. For those of you, Greg, and who else?
Stacy.
And Stacy. Applaud you for checking in the chat. It always takes a little bit of bravery to like say your name. The trick here is that this is a fertile community of rental property investors that are all in the chat with you, watching at the same time. You'll have like 70, 80 people watching at the same time. Make a friend. Everybody is really welcoming, ready to connect with you. Feel free to validate anything that Greg and I are saying here on stage with people that are clients, that are not clients, that have been here for a while. They will definitely give you their opinions and give you access to them if you're trying to make a good decision for yourself. I just realized I had not silenced it in my phone, so I preemptively handled that one.
I was like, who is texting you right now that you got to pick that one up?
Nobody, but I'm really popular and it was going to happen during the show, so it wasn't going to happen now. That being said, Greg, we got some breaking news, an update on last week's HomeStep fundraising program. GC, you got some good news for us, don't you?
We came to you guys. We asked for your help and love and support to donate to the JWB Cares Welcome Home Fund. This is the fund that makes 8 new JWB renters turn into 8 new first-time home buyers with your love and support. We set a goal for ourselves just in this community in 1 week or less to raise $5,000. And guess what, guys? We did it. We raised over $5,000. All of you, our little neck of the woods here in this online community here, we did that. And we collectively are a part of a much bigger mission here to change the lives of those 8 families and many, many more. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so blown away with your love and support and generosity, and just incredibly appreciative.
Last year, we set a record at how much?
Last year in our community, we raised $2,500.
$2,500. This year, we doubled it. In just 1 week, the community showed up. For those of you that are new here, JWB is not just focused on developing Jacksonville and raising home price appreciation and driving value for investors. We're also committed to plugging Jacksonville residents into the economic flywheel that we're all a part of investing here in Jacksonville, because that is what creates a healthy ecosystem. And this HomeStep program is a way to turn renters into homeowners, because as we know, the average American renter has about what?
$8,000 in net worth.
$8,000 in net worth. The average American homeowner has what?
$400,000.
$400,000 in net worth. And as this idea of creating a healthy rental property ecosystem has to do with rising median incomes and rising prosperity, so people can continue to pay these rents and get the value from it, and everybody kind of like benefits from it. So turning renters into homeowners is a core initiative that, as we talked about last week, was validated by this new federal law that we passed on for housing, right? Turning developers, incentivizing them to create home ownership programs as you're doing it in order to continue to bring supply and help solve the housing crisis. So really, really pumped that as a community we did our part. I contributed, Greg contributed. I assume most of you folks that are here contributed, and really thank you from the bottom of my heart. Really cool to be a part of that.
100%. And if you all would like to continue to donate, you still can. I think, Joanna, if you wouldn't mind, Joanna already put it in the chat. So if anybody would like to donate, you can. Suggest a donation of $100. Give whatever you can, whatever you feel comfortable. And then we did something special last week. For anybody who donated $500 or more, they would get a ticket to Summit. And Summit tickets cost $400 each. That is our flagship conference event once a year. It'll be in next April, and we're still doing that. So if you would like to donate and you'd like to get a free Summit ticket, go ahead, put $500 in there. It's basically the cost of the Summit ticket, and you will feel amazing. So just go to that link that Joanna has provided. And if you're listening on the podcast, just send an email to info@JWB Companies. We'll give you the link to donate. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Awesome, GC. And we're Mark Norman sends in about this topic we're about to talk about, Trump accounts, and what you give to your kids in retirement. He says, looking forward to the show. This is a very timely topic for me because I have 2 granddaughters arriving this week. Very excited. My first grandchildren, Mark. That's amazing.
All right, Mark. Congratulations, really cool. Man. Cool. Wow. What a blessing. Yeah. What 2 blessings.
Yeah, two blessings. I love that this community comes together to celebrate these meaningful things, right? It's much more than just wealth building. It's about the life that you can build when you are, on top of your finances and in control of your future, right?
100%.
So that being said, we got another breaking news, GC. Some breaking news about JWB and their rankings in Jacksonville these days. What is it, GC?
We got another award I wanted to pass along to you guys. Yep. Every year, the Jacksonville Business Journal ranks the top property management companies locally, and JWB was ranked the #2 residential property management company. And so we're really proud of that. We were actually #2 last year, and that is ranked on property management revenue dollars. Mm-hmm. So we're very proud of #2. Some of you might be saying, who's #1? And #1 is like a crazy property management company that does like pretty much every type of property management. Mm-hmm. So they do like marinas and single family rentals and a lot of multifamily apartment complex, which we don't focus as much on. So we like to say, and what the numbers validate, is that we are the #1 single family residential property management company in Jacksonville. So very, very proud of that. Nice to be recognized again, and a community win, a team win for all of us here.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's always good to be part of #1 over here, betting with it.
There you go.
That's a great award to get. As a real estate investor myself that does business with JWB, for me, that award means when you are at a certain scale, it de-risks things for me, and it affords me certain things that I wouldn't be able to get by myself, or if I was doing business with a smaller business, namely the fact that you all spend, what is it, like about $7 million a month in construction costs?
Yeah.
You spend about $7 million a month in construction costs. Mm-hmm. That means that you have a certain level of pricing access. You have a certain level of service, preferential service when there's emergencies. I know that my houses are going to get taken care of if there's a storm or something like that, mm-hmm. because when you're the big game in town and contractors have you as a big part of their business, they're gonna treat you a certain way, and that comes, that's to the benefit of the investor like myself.
There you go.
All right, cool. All right, GC. So let's talk about these Trump accounts, right?
Yeah.
It got cemented, right? It's happening. These Trump's accounts are happening. As we thought about talking about this a couple of weeks ago and wanted to make a show about it, I just want to say we're not a political channel in any way. We're calling him Trump accounts, whether you love Trump, hate Trump. It's the name of it. It's called TrumpAccounts.gov.
Yeah.
Obamacare is also called Obamacare, right? So we're just referring it to the name. So please decouple from the name or whatever it is. This thing as an initiative,
yeah.
Right? The TLDR is essentially, there is now a retirement vehicle, there's an investing vehicle for America's youth that is under 18 years old that allows for them to contribute $5,000 a year to start building net worth, mm-hmm. right? From the moment that they're born till the moment that they turn 18. There's a certain population that also gets a free government-sponsored $1,000 to get the thing started. And it's essentially, for those of you that have been watching the show and have been following along, 401ks weren't always around, right? Like 401ks kind of like came around in like the late 80s, early 90s.
I was going to say probably the 70s, but 70s or 80s, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, something like that, right? Like we transitioned from like pensions to these kinds of like ways of saving for our own retirement. And that's now the way that things are done, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is a new context. This is a new thing that happened where, before, in order to save in some kind of a retirement account for a child, you had to go figure it out on your own. Right. You had to play offense around this. This is a new kind of like ability to do this that's going to lead to a bunch of different things, right? Like number one, actually, I'll kind of like give it to you, right? That's the summary. You can get $1,000 for free from the government if you live in a certain zip codes, but more importantly, everybody can now invest up to $5,000 a year into their children's retirement that they get at 18 and they have control of, and then that sets them up to have a certain amount of like net worth and stuff like that going forward. You see, when this stuff came out and you started reading about it, what were your initial thoughts?
I was pumped.
Yeah,
really, really pumped, because I went back to myself 14 years ago and 12 years ago when my kids were born. And, I started to run the math at that time for my kids. And of course, there were no accounts like this that were available at that moment. And I said, you know what? I understand the power of compounding and I understand the power of investing when you're young.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm so thankful for myself that, the stars align and I learned how to do this when I was 23 years old.
Yeah.
But even starting at 23, I said, man, what if I learned how to do this or it was done for me when I was 1 year old or
Yeah.
0 years old? Like how much farther along would we be?
Yeah.
And so I ran those numbers 14 years ago, 12 years ago, and I had to really try hard to figure out a way to be able to allow that to happen for my kids. And it wasn't easy to do that.
Yeah.
And now we're making it easy when the government is seeding the accounts of $1,000. And I don't believe it's limited by zip codes. Maybe somebody can chime in if that's the case, but I believe it's by year that they were born, kids are born. Mm-hmm. So kids who were born in 2025 through 2028 will receive $1,000 seeding investment from the US government for their Trump account. And then the real power is, how can friends, family, others who want to support that child, grandchild, niece, nephew, friend, I think we are all surrounded by people that, want to help the next generation and especially in their families. And now we have a vehicle where they can align their efforts into this vehicle for their child or grandchild, niece or nephew, and it can grow in a tax deferred manner. So we're kind of like supercharging this thing. When we think about the power of compounding, we're making this possible for the masses here, and we're adding in an element of tax deferred growth, and there's a whole much more possibility. So I'm a huge fan of this. I instantly connected to it to when I was a first-time parent, and now I think that this is accessible for everybody.
Yeah, when you and I first started talking about it, I saw you light up about the power of compounding interest. And, if I'm being honest, when I first started learning about compounding interest, it was really when I was setting up my 401k fresh out of college. And it just all seemed so like abstract to me.
Right.
And the idea of having a vehicle to allow your children to participate in it, make it easy, and then to get to 22, 23, and now when it's time for me to start investing into myself, it not being as abstract, me seeing like the power of it in order to validate the fact that I want to start doing this, seems like a really valuable thing. And we're going to go through kind of like some X's and O's in a presentation that you put together so that we can really, really start to understand the power of it. For me, I can tell you that when I grew up, I don't know if you know this, but I grew up in Miami.
I've heard.
And for whatever reason, where I grew up in Miami, up until I was like 12 years old, all my friends were like sons of Cubans. Everybody was Hispanic. And then I went to this different school for 7th grade. And that school was at least like 50% Jewish. Okay. So I started going to bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, right? It was honestly one of the best years of my life, right? Like it was just like a bar mitzvah every year. And I still have a lot of friends in the Jewish community. And what I've realized as we've gotten older is that, at these bar and bat mitzvahs, the Jewish community has this tradition of gifting money to the bar or bat mitzvah kid. Right. And I've seen my friends over their lives tap in, like the idea of like, oh yeah, I use my bar mitzvah money for it, my bat mitzvah money to buy my first house, to like do these different kinds of things is something that became very, very real to me later on in like my like 20s and 30s of seeing this like power of compounding interest that happened at like, a gift that happened at a kid's when they were 13, let it sit for the next 15 years, right? And what that became for them. I was like, gosh, man, what a head start in life. And it's like a beautiful kind of like case study of a community coming together to agree on this idea that like, let's gift kids financial independence in their future. And I feel like this Trump account now opens that up for everybody. Now we have the ability to not just friends, not just family when they're born and like your parents to like put into it, but this is going to open up a whole new ecosystem of helping children invest these Trump accounts. Like I think we're, within like in the next 5 minutes, someone's going to come out with like the plugin for Evite of instead of giving my kids some toy I'm going to throw away when they're 2 years old, here's where to give $25 to their Trump account.
100%.
Right? Like, and that's going to like become this waterfall of us as a community starting to like look out for each other and pitch in for like our friends' kids, kind of financial futures in these moments where we probably would have blown 20 to $100 on like some plastic toy that you probably have too much of and it makes too much noise.
I think I might love that idea of just not having plastic crap toys given to kids.
Yeah.
As much as I love compounding interest. But yeah, I just look at this and we'll run the numbers here in a second. So you'll see the power of this.
Yeah.
So I love the numbers of it, but I think what you're talking about is an education tool, a mindset tool. And you mentioned how for yourself, it was kind of like intangible understanding compounding interest. But if you could sit a child down at age 18 and they probably didn't pay any attention to their Trump account or whatever, but sit down with them and say, hey, listen, this is what's in your retirement account today. Let me show you how you got there.
Yeah.
And how little it took for you to get there from a dollar's perspective because of compounding interest and returns. That might be something that unlocks something in that young child that then shapes a better future for them. So imagine a whole population that not just financially is better off, but from a mindset perspective, understands something at a deeper level that they may never have understood before.
I think it's really cool. And I think it's really cool. And again, this is going to open a whole ecosystem around children's investment, education, and avenues to invest for children in the long term.
Absolutely.
Right. Like that's really what I believe in the most is like once something like this opens up, there's going to be all these other externalities that we didn't know about that I think are going to be really cool. Somebody's going to really figure it out, right? Like somebody's going to figure out like, there's going to be the parent that's out there like, follow me for advice on how your kid retires at 25.
Yeah.
Like,
I just think it's a ease of access now is a huge obstacle. And we have removed so many barriers by this thing that is now real.
Yeah, and MJ is saying here in the Q&A, we're focused on the 529 instead. I believe for a family focused on education beyond high school, that's a better account. That said, we did open a 530A for the free money. What are your thoughts on which to focus upon? From my research in this stuff, like there is that 529. It's specifically for college. This one is for it. It could end up being for college. It could be for other things. Did you kind of like look into the nuances between them?
Yeah, and I don't think it has to be an either or. And it doesn't. You can have different levels that you go for each of these. I think if you just take the $1,000 that the government is giving to you, and you just have that for your Trump account, and then it just grows, like could put some expectations for growth. Like it's going to be a win. There's no reason to not do it.
Yeah.
But I think there are some nuances between which of your retirement accounts is better suited for your goals. For example, the taxation is a little bit different between the 529 and the Trump account. Is it tax deferred? Are you taxed on the way in when you contribute? Those are some differences that I would encourage you to look through. Probably won't have enough time to get into the pros and cons of all that on today's show. But it's a positive thing, and it can be in addition to. At a bare minimum, I don't see any reason to not do it. So it should be in addition to. Does this mean that you're going to want to fully fund this over some of your other retirement alternatives or education or healthcare alternatives? Maybe, maybe not. It's more of a personal decision.
Yeah, makes sense. And that's a good time to get into this kind of like case study that you did and to talk about that this is, we're not financial advisors. We are here to, I'm blanking out on what I'm supposed to say.
I got this. We're not financial advisors. This isn't financial planning. We're a couple of guys that are doing our best. These numbers are estimates, but they're really cool. So use them for educational purposes. Don't listen to the show and just start throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars anywhere.
Yeah, do your own research. Do your own research. All right, GC. So this is a presentation that GC is going to storytell through because I love what he did here. But essentially, this is where we're at, right? Like the federal start is $1,000. Eligible for children born 2025 to 2028, annual contributions of $5,000 per year. Who can contribute? Federal government, family and friends and employers. And once you start investing in birth, you can let compounding do the rest. GC, tell me the story that you put together here.
Yeah, so I went back to me, 14 years ago, and I literally ran these calculations, and I said, well, if I could just get some of this money set aside for my child, and it grew at 8% a year, how much would it be worth at different times in their life?
Yeah.
And so I literally ran these numbers. So I wanted to run these numbers for you. Now it's a little bit different now because you've got government seeding of $1,000 here with the Trump accounts. But beyond that, if we can just rally. Maybe some of this money is already being given to your kid or your grandkids or nieces or nephews. Or maybe we can make something that is somewhat doable for the average family out there to start contributing. How much more would your son, child, niece, nephew, grandchild be ahead at age 18? And so here's what the numbers are. If you just have a Trump account and it starts with $1,000 at birth, and you assume that it grows at 8% a year, which is roughly what the stock market has grown at for the last, 50, 100 years on average, at age 18, it's worth $4,000. Now, is that pretty cool by itself?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, let's just accentuate the positive here,
Yeah.
right? That's $4,000 in a retirement account for your son, child, grandchild, whatnot, right? That by itself is helping us in our conversations to be able to teach our children, grandchildren about how did this happen.
Yep.
So it's a wonderful thing if that's all it is. But then I said to myself, what if we could just find a way to contribute $100 a month for 50 months to get to a total of a $5,000 contribution through the family? If all we were able to do is to contribute $100 a month in addition to that $1,000, how much more would compounding work in our favor to get us to a higher amount? And you can see the number on the screen here. That same investment now is worth over $21,000.
This isn't even maxing out the $5,000 per year, right?
No.
This is essentially $100 a month for essentially 4 years. And what that compounds at to age 18.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Starting early, before they're even age 5, you're getting this money in, and then it's compounding, it's growing for you. This is the power of starting young. And so very, very substantially different. And that is a great tool and a great way, of course, to seed the future retirement account of our nation.
Pretty good. So what's this next one, GP?
So then I ran it all the way out and I said, all right, well, my son who, was born 12 years ago, right? What if I started to run this thing out until he was age 58?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now I've gone past age 18 and was worth like $21,000. And if I contributed just $100 a month before he was 5 years old, and then it ran out to age 58, we're looking at about a $500,000 retirement account that you can create for your child based on some assumptions which have proven true over decades and decades and decades. Is this like not life-changing and super powerful? Every child in our country now can have this or close to this based on how much we can also contribute. And the number doesn't have to be incredibly significant. We're talking about $100 a month.
Yep.
And, not everybody can do that, but, I bet that there are people in your network that love your son, your child, your niece, your nephew, and maybe they bought them some plastic toy for $25 that they threw away anyways.
Yeah, totally.
What if that became the donation that was that $100 a month and helped the child?
Yeah, or we focus less on like inviting Spider-Man over for the birthday party and put that money to this, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, right? This idea of if we can, what I like about this GC is that it's a very like approachable target to get at, right? How do you solve for putting $5,000 into this account that is already going to exist, that you already have access to by the time that your kid is 5 years old? And what does that mean for the remainder of their life?
Exactly.
I think, bringing it down to like a small thing. And, that's what we're trying to do here on the show in general, right? Is like take not your average approach to financial independence, right? And this seems very, very doable for people in our audience, for someone to be sharing out there. Somebody can go out there and just create a content stream around how do we get to $5,000 before 5 years old, right? Like it's got like a nice little hook point to it.
I like that.
And then these results of, getting to age 58 with almost $500,000 in net worth is outpacing where we're at right now as a country, right? So like, how can we kind of like do this? This seems like a pretty straightforward path.
Here we go.
Yeah, pretty good, man. All right, what else we got here?
Yeah, so that's the feel-good part of the show, right? The next part of the show here is talking about how are we actually doing in our retirement.
Yeah.
So as we were preparing for the show, I felt like there was a tale of two cities here. Yeah. And when we're talking about Trump accounts and the the vehicle that is created, I couldn't be more fired up for our country. Yeah. I think it's great. But when I look at how we're actually doing today as far as retiring, I'm pretty sad, and I'm pretty disappointed for our country.
Yeah. The headline is we've never had more money in our retirement accounts, and we've never been less confident in our ability to retire comfortably.
Exactly.
So that juxtaposition bears looking at, right?
And the crazy thing is we have way more in our 401ks today than we ever have before.
Yeah.
We have way more today than we had last year.
Mm-hmm.
Or in this case, I ran this analysis back to 2020 and I pulled some stats. And this is from a report that Vanguard puts together. And it basically kind of does a snapshot for how Vanguard clients are doing in retirement. Vanguard has however many billions under their management. So it's a really good kind of cross-section of our country overall. And what you're finding is that there are a lot of things that are growing, okay? Number one, plan participation. If I compare 2020 to 2025, people in retirement account plans are growing. It went from 85% to 86%. That's a really good thing. We want more people in a plan.
That sounds good.
Right? Yeah. Positive. All right. Total savings rate going up. So we had 11% savings rate in 2020. People are saving more in 12% in 2025. Positive. You know, the way that we're doing that is we're forcing people to become investors in their retirement accounts by auto enrolling people in retirement accounts. That wasn't the case. I don't know when that switched, but it wasn't the case in 2020.
That's a big context shift there, right? Like the behavioral economics kind of approach to this thing was you used to have to opt into your 401k account. Now you got to opt out of your 401k account, right? So we're kind of like trying to help you, man.
Exactly.
You know, like
and
these kinds of things.
Of the employer match, right? You don't get it unless you're in the plan. So we're kicking and dragging, we're dragging investors, Americans, kicking and screaming into it, right?
Yeah, correct.
Professionally managed allocation. It was 62%. It's 69% now in 2025, which to me is great one way or another. Doesn't matter. You know, skill level will determine that. But you know, what that's telling me is people need it done for them as much as possible, and they want it to be on autopilot. Yeah. And that's okay. That's a win, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to skip the next one in just a second because we're going to talk about that. But there's some other positive things. Continuous participants whose balance grew year over year. 94% of balances grew in 2025 versus the previous year. Yeah. That's awesome. People have more money in their 401ks, and the median balance increased as well. So the dollars are growing, more people are involved in them, and they're saving more. Those are all really good things, right? But here's the problem. Hardship withdrawals have gone up 3.5 times versus what they were in 2020. What's a hardship withdrawal?
Unforeseen expense that you have to take out of a retirement account and pay a penalty for and have to use it, not necessarily to invest as much as to pay for something that you didn't see coming.
Well, you're right about everything except the penalty. So in most 401k plans, you're allowed to actually take a hardship withdrawal and actually not pay the penalty.
Okay.
But people don't want to do this, right? It is the last resort to be able to have funds to handle your lifestyle or whatever big expense you have before you make a next costly decision, right? And so we're seeing our country take out hardship withdrawals at a staggering rate, at a time when their balances are going up, when they're investing more in their 401ks, when they're saving more. And so what we're creating is more saving for the future, but we can't take care of today as a country. We are much more financially fragile. And what this means to me, it's further indication. Like, we knew the model was broken. We knew the retirement model was broken before balances, 94% of balances increased last year. It was broken last year. It was broken the year before. But it's just reinforcing that no matter if the 401ks continue to go up, it's not going to land in a place where we're helping people retire better.
Yeah. This is, it's interesting because you look at the numbers before and it's like slight increases. This is a big increase, right? So, you know, if it's trending this way, you know, maybe the data is we have more than ever, but like we're also taking out more than ever. It might be completely negating all this good stuff that we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if the whole point of it is like staying in it for a long time value of money, the more we take out, the more we're hurting ourselves in the future for compounding.
Like, this is the steroids part of your investment portfolio that can grow tax deferred.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to take it out. while you might not pay a penalty with a hardship withdrawal,
Yeah.
you're paying a penalty because your growth is not going to be anywhere close to what it could be
Yeah.
had you just kept it in investing.
Yeah.
And then on the last slide there, just to point it out, it's not an anomaly, right? Year over year over year, it has gone up as far as that hardship withdrawal.
Yeah.
At a period of time where we created more wealth in this country than we ever had, probably over the last few years. And this is really where it landed. So I took that report and I was like, all right, let me connect this to the sentiment that we have as Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And so Gallup releases polls every year. How confident are you as an American in your retirement? And I thought this was really telling. It goes all the way back to 2002. In 2002, 59% of Americans felt comfortable in their retirement.
Mm-hmm.
We have had a 16-point drop since 2002. It has largely gone down a lot. It went up a little bit from 2015 to 2020. But it went right back down again in 2025. We sit here today, 43% of Americans, only 43% of Americans are confident in their retirement account, yet they look at their 401ks and they're higher today.
Yeah.
It's just not working. And I think putting this together and showing this, to me, reinforces the point that we need a better model.
You see, these numbers they're easy to understand, but hard to look at. Like it is, you'd think that if we are saving more than ever, we should be feeling more confident than ever. I think there's a lot of different things we can point to, right? Like I feel like we're in about the last like 7 years have had the most kind of like weird ups and downs that I remember, like thinking, and the rate of change is staggering, and now AI is coming, and all these different kind of like things have continued to come. But if I was to think from like a first principle standpoint, it really goes back to something we've been talking about a lot on the show. And it's this idea that we're living longer, right? Like when I think when all these things were, I don't know what life expectancy was in like the late 70s when we came up with the 401k or whatever, right? But I can pretty much assure you that life expectancy has increased. Right. We're living longer, right? So like whatever we were planning on came with a certain assumption. I think as the world has become more interconnected, we are exposed to more things that we didn't really, right? Like the interconnectivity of markets now creates these things like the run on Silicon Valley Bank or the GameStop thing or right, like all these like weird things that have to do with like the speed of decision making, the liquidity of money, the access to that, and the like group think affecting us at a scale that has never happened before, which leads to more and more of these black swan events that continue to happen. And it takes me back to this idea that everything before was set up for, okay, you're going to have this much money in your retirement when you get to age 65, and it's got to last you for 15 years. And the chances of things happening to you in those 15 years were X. Now it's like, all right, now you might have to need it for 20, 25 years. And the chances of things happening during that time go up and down in a really, really volatile way that makes me think that, we are most vulnerable to our most vulnerable these days. In later in life, when we're done with our peak earning years, we're supposed to like count on this dollar amount to like last us. We're supposed to save, and then spend, and now have this dollar amount last us. I don't think that our initial hypotheses, our initial strategy was built for today's realistic expectations of what that life cycle is, and it requires looking at retirement in a different way, which is why I'm glad that we're coming up with new solutions like Trump accounts, start earlier, whatever. But I think it really reinforces this idea that it's no longer enough to just have a certain amount of money in a portfolio in the traditional assets that everybody has always had. It really opens up my mind to real estate should have a seat at the table. This like compounding annuity of like having a rental property, having 10 rental properties, having 20 rental properties, and the options that it gives you being part of this thing. It just continues to reinforce the fact that I'm glad that I'm doing this these days.
I feel that. I feel like when we created the 401k, and as a country, we basically created a format and we said, hey, you individual American, you're now responsible for your retirement account. And we as Americans were absolutely not equipped to do that.
Yeah.
And we look 30, 40, 50 years later and we see where we're at, and less than half of us actually feel comfortable we'll be able to retire comfortably. That's not even like what you may feel like you deserve, right?
Yeah.
Like we're just talking about comfortably.
Yeah.
And you know what it is? You can create a framework, which we did with the 401k, but if there is not education, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're going to be worse off.
Yeah.
And many Americans are worse off because of that. And I do agree with you that a different type of asset as the bedrock of a retirement account is needed, because we know that what currently is the bedrock isn't working.
Yeah.
And it requires education. It requires community. It requires mentorship. Yeah. It's harder to do when you invest in single family rental properties as the bedrock of your retirement account, but it works. It just works.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah.
It's not sexy.
Yeah.
But it works.
Single family homes is what you're talking about.
Single family homes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
it's there when you need it. Mm-hmm. And it's because it's based on an asset that is a critical need for you as the individual, the family, the community, the government overall, our entire country. And when you have that, you have built-in stability. Yeah. Right. It's not the most growing fad. So yes, but I think if I wrap all of that back up into, we got to educate. Even with Trump accounts now, if all you have is a Trump account, but you don't understand how much just $100 a month might change the future for your son or your daughter, mm-hmm. you're not gonna experience it in that life-changing fashion, which it can be. So education is, I think, the greatest opportunity for us.
Yeah, yeah. Like I love how you said it, education and community, right? Because I think anytime you're gonna take whatever everyone else is doing that everybody's already incentivized to do and do it slightly different, you need to be surrounded by people that have done it in order to like make it feel safe.
Yep.
To a certain extent. And at the end of the day, education through mentorship happens frictionlessly in community, which is one of the big reasons why we started the show. It's a big reason why we do what we do, to put all this type of stuff together. And I want to go through an example of like how you thought about this when it comes to real estate. You ready to talk about it?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool.
This was my Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon. I got fired up about this.
Yeah, I saw this presentation by Greg. I'm like, Greg, you nerded out this weekend, didn't you, buddy? All right, tell us about this.
All right, so before we get in what's on the screen here, so here's my thought process. Trump account, just growing in the stock market, right off the bat, great opportunity to change the lives of our kids, grandkids, whatnot. Mm-hmm. But then I started to say, well, you know what? I obviously believe that single family rental properties as a retirement strategy is the best. You guys know that about me. Right. And then I was like, I wonder if within the confines of the Trump account limitations, could we come up, what would it take for us to have enough money in the Trump account to be able to invest in a single family rental property? Can you do that? Mm-hmm. Answer is yes. Right. And then what would this retirement account look like if we bought that single family rental property in what originally was the Trump account, grew, now became a single family rental property? And then guess what we did later down the line? We had a property baby inside this retirement account for your baby who's probably 0 years old or 1 year old or 2 years old.
I know that there's a couple of new folks here in the community. What Greg is talking about when he means by property babies is the fact that when you invest in single family rental properties, as appreciation happens, you gain equity in a house. You're able to refinance that home, take that money and buy other properties with it. And it just happens, right? Like we call it having property babies because one home can lead to multiple homes without any extra cash out of pocket. And that's what he's talking about. So we're going to go through that example.
There we go. So then my one property had a property baby and now it became two properties in the retirement account for your son or your daughter. And then I modeled that out to age 58. And what would it look like for your son or your daughter or grandkids retirement account at age 58? And it is awesome, guys.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So this is kind of like Dreamweaver if I was to draw it up perfectly.
All right, talk me through the mechanics, Steve.
Yeah. So the first thing that I do is what happens is it's a Trump account from age 0. At age 18, it automatically converts to a traditional IRA, and this has tax deferred growth. What I would do at age 18 is I would look to convert that from a traditional IRA for my son or my daughter to a Roth IRA, because in a Roth IRA, you now have tax-free growth. And why do you want to do that at age 18? Well, ideally you want to convert this at a time when your earnings are the lowest, because you do need to pay the taxes and need to pay the tax conversion there. So if you could be at age 18, your earned income there is probably very, very low at age 18. That would be the great time to convert it to a Roth IRA.
Got it.
So now we went from a Trump account, it converts into a traditional IRA automatically. We're going to convert it to a Roth IRA. We're going to pay some taxes, but it's not going to be a ton. And now we've set our son or our daughter up for tax-free growth going forward.
Got it. So that's the first kind of like vehicle. You make that switch, and then talk to me about this thing here.
So then, we have some limitations within the Trump account. You can only contribute a maximum of $5,000 a year. Now, the previous example was $100 a month because I wanted to see what was achievable and realistic for most families. Well, now I'm saying a different lens. What's the most that I could get into this account? And could I do it by age 18 so that my son or my daughter could then invest in their first rental property within their retirement account? And based on these projections, I think it's possible. So what we do is we'd start with $1,000 in the Trump account. I would figure out a way to invest $5,000 a year in that Trump account for my son. And that would be $90,000 of contributions over 18 years. It would be $5,000 is the max that you would do. And then we're assuming that that would compound and grow at a rate of 8% per year. If you did that, it would be worth about $206,000 in the Trump account. Now, that's a whole lot of contributions. Not everybody's going to be able to do this, but this is fun to think about, right? And it might be possible for some of you. And if it is, now what you're setting up your son, daughter, grandchild is over $200,000 in the retirement account at age 18. And if we model this thing out, you guys are going to love how this looks. So then I said, all right, well, at $206,000, would that be enough or a down payment? So I modeled out what is a JWB rental property likely to be worth 18 years from now. And I used an actual property and I modeled it out at 4.8% home price appreciation per year. And it might blow some of you away, but your properties, each one of them is likely to be worth somewhere around $516,000 18 years from now. And now I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, the type of loan that you need inside a retirement account is different. It's not like your normal loan, but you can get loans inside of a retirement account. You have to put 40% down. And what do you know? 40% of that property value at $516,000 allows us to put the down payment down for our very first rental property for our son, daughter at age 18. Is that pretty cool?
That's pretty cool. So now you're buying a rental property at 18 years old. You convert the account. That turns into a down payment for a home. I know we got a lot of new members of the community here today, but owning rental properties inside of your retirement account is absolutely something that a lot of people in our community do. So now you got a rental property inside of your retirement account. Talk me through the rest of it.
So then you let this thing do what it does, which it builds wealth over time. And we pay attention to how much equity we have in the home so that you can harvest that equity and turn it into additional properties without you bringing any additional money to the table. And so I modeled it out. And because this is in a retirement account and you have to put 40% down, it would take about 15 years for this asset to grow enough that you could harvest the equity and in essence, turn your first rental property into a second rental property in your son or daughter's retirement account. But now they're age 33 and now they own 2 assets inside their retirement account.
That would make me very jealous.
Very cool.
Right. I got to age 41 with 2 properties in my, 2 properties. And I'm looking at it now at 45 and I'm seeing what they're doing. And to think that I could have had like a 12-year head start on that would be absolutely amazing.
I know. We all start putting ages to this and we're just like, man, I wish I could go back. I wish I would have started.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that to myself too. I started at 23. I wish I would have started when I went to college or when I was,
Yeah, especially when we were in college, it would have been really good
right?
to be buying.
I know, right?
Early 2000s.
We were winning championships and the demand for housing was huge right around Gainesville. So then you just let this thing do from what it does from age 33, these 2 rental properties, they pay the loans down over the next 25 years. Guys, this is what your child's retirement account can look like at age 58 based on starting right now with this Trump account. You can own 2 properties inside that retirement account and look at that portfolio value. The value has gone up on these 2 assets now, growing roughly 5% a year for those years that you've owned those assets. And over those next 25 years, your tenants have paid the loans off for you. And so you have over $6 million in this retirement account for your son or your daughter or your grandchild. And it's not just about the total amount here, the total portfolio value. The next number I think is the most important, because this is what our normal broken model of investing does not provide for. What it will continue to provide for is cash flow when you need it. This would create $140,000 a year of debt-free and tax-free income for your son or your daughter or your grandchild. And this is possible, guys. This is just using statistics that we've been using investing for JWB for 20 years, and statistics as far as home price appreciation and rent price appreciation and operating expenses. Those have been tested over decades and decades and decades. Like, this is achievable. This is possible. And so this is what I was so fired up about on Saturday afternoon.
So this is, in the earlier example, you said put in $5,000 before they are 5 years old, leads to like $500,000 in net worth, $450,000 in net worth by the time that they're 58. This is maximizing it, 5K a year, turning it into 1 property at the time that they turn 18, and then letting that property turn into 2 properties. By the time that they're 58, it goes from $450,000 to $6 million in value.
Yes,
and $140,000 of revenue every single year.
Yes, sir.
And the ability to refinance that home if you need to, right? Like these 2 properties could at this point also turn into other property babies as well, right? Like you could be cash out refinancing, you could sell this thing. Like there's now there's a whole bunch of like tax deferred, tax-free things you can do with it on top of cashing it out if that's what you need to do, but it's spitting off all this cash flow as is doing it.
There you go, buddy.
That's incredible.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really incredible, man. This is a super cool kind of like, again, based on the fact that now this exists, right? Like these, and Benjamin Altman's asking, why are we calling it Trump accounts? We talked about that at the beginning of the show, right? It's like the website is trumpaccounts.gov.
Yeah.
So we're just going with it, right? Like, based on now this like avenue, that is new, people like you and others are going to come up with like, what's the best way of leveraging this new opportunity of being able to like put money into accounts, right? It's going to start with, instead of buying me plastic toys, give my kids some money into this account, but it's going to lead to a bunch of different formulas like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a first version of like what this looks like. Hey, what happens if you are maxing out that account and then going straight into real estate with it, and then letting real estate do its thing with single family homes that will continue to happen inside of a retirement account. This is a glimpse of the future of kind of like the optionality that we're going to have in retirement. I still think it goes back to education and, and community and like what other people are doing it with, right? Because I think kind of what we learned with 401ks was really meant to put the power into you as an investor and give you all these different options. And what we realize is that like people haven't really used it, right? So you're still going to have to take control of your future. You're still going to have to come up with these kind of like strategies, but man, if you can now pace your kid to, like to do this, buy the first rental property at 18 and the flywheel that sets them up for, I know a lot of us in this community are thinking, I'm doing this for legacy. I'm doing this to give my future generations. Like Reggie Fonse just kind of like did a mind blowing. I know Reggie bought his rental property specifically because he wants to give his generational wealth inside of his family, right? So like if we start taking these not your average investor approaches to this new avenue that we have, sky's the limit, right? Like there's just a lot that can be done.
You guys want to know something else? Like this is within the confines of a retirement account, which has some limitations. We can run these same type of numbers for just buying a rental property. It doesn't have to be through a Trump account or any type of retirement account. And the numbers actually get better. And when you start with one property and you're young, and then that property grows and you harvest the equity and you turn it into your second or your third, it actually, the numbers are better than what I put on the screen there. So maybe that's an exercise we'll do. And it has nothing to do with Trump accounts or retirement accounts overall. That's the power of this asset, and especially when you start young.
I think it's great, man. I know that we thought that we were gonna talk a lot about this idea of what you can pass on to the next generation,
Yeah.
when you are investing in rental properties versus other, things. We're not gonna have a lot of time for this, you see. But you put together this slide around it. Can you give kind of like a quick summary of this? Is it even worthwhile?
Yeah, no, I think we can. I mean, this was a really important question that our patron Santorius, Michael Santorius, emailed in. And the essence of his question was, hey, you know what? We talk about like legacy and retirement planning, and then what do you do with your portfolio when you pass? And there's some education that we can have around what the most economically or tax efficient way to go about it is. But I think his question was more of like, what are you doing? Like, do people really pass along their portfolio of rental properties to their kids? How do they do it? And if they do it, how is it done well? And so I think, for the limited amount of time that we have now, and happy to dive more into it on the next show, what I wanted just to show you guys is that it is very economically advantageous to consider holding on to rental properties and passing those properties to your future generation. And I just did a quick economic analysis here. I'm not an accountant, not a CPA. Know that right off the bat. I just am a real estate investor who's been doing it for 20 years. And I just pointed out a couple of things that would cost you money if you go down the route of selling properties and then passing cash to your heirs versus holding the assets and passing the properties. If you sell your properties ahead of time before you pass, you're going to have selling, holding, and closing costs. And so in this analysis, I assumed you had 3 properties that are each worth $250,000. And so you have a portfolio of $750,000. If you sell those 3 properties, it's going to cost you about 75 grand. But in addition, you're going to be paying taxes on the gain that you had from those assets. And this can be a little bit complicated when we think about depreciation and taxable gain. Maybe we'll save that for another day. But ultimately, it's going to cost you about $170,000 in both hard costs and in taxes that you'll need to pay if you sell the asset and then pass cash along to your heirs. Versus that same rough example, if you just hold those 3 properties and then you pass it to your heirs, you don't pay the cost to sell and the closing costs and the commissions and whatnot. So you don't have that cost. So you save that $75,000. And then you also have this wonderful thing called the step up in basis. And what this does is it basically allows you to step up your basis, your cost basis in the properties. And you don't have to pay the same taxable gain that you would have had to pay if you sold the properties before. It's this beautiful rule that is allowed by owning single family rental properties that the IRS gives us. It's called the step up in basis. And so if you look at that and you think about from an economic perspective, which is better and is it really worth it to consider it? In this example alone, it's worth about $170,000 of more wealth that's preserved for your family if you consider holding and passing the properties to your heirs.
You see, this is all stuff that and Pamela Myers said we should do an entire show on this topic. I'm like, that was what this show was going to be. And then you got really nerdy with like the possibilities of these new Trump accounts or whatever.
Right.
So we'll dive more deeply into this, but I feel like we've talked a lot about this idea of step up in basis. I've heard this term multiple times. I'd like to just kind of like say what I think it is, and then you correct me. I think is a lot of the ways that we do the learning on this show is I get it wrong, and then you get it right. Is the step up in basis essentially mean that when I get a rental property, if I was to get like a lump of cash given to me, that lump of cash is worth what that lump of cash is worth, and I have to pay taxes on it, right?
Okay.
If I get a rental property given to me, and again, I'm saying this in an inheritance situation. If I get a rental property given to me at that moment, is the step up in basis essentially mean I don't have to pay taxes on like what it appreciated during the time.
Bingo.
I essentially inherit it at the cost of what the property was originally worth when it was first purchased. So I don't have to pay as much taxes. Is that kind of it?
You don't have to pay taxes on the appreciation. You don't have to pay taxes on the amount that you depreciated tax wise
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
So, and this is what the step up in basis means. It means your basis is what amount it's what you started with as far as your market value minus what you depreciated from a tax perspective. And that becomes a lower amount. And then when you take that lower amount and you go and sell the property, you then have to pay the taxes on the gains. And the gains are made up of your appreciation plus how much you depreciated. So I think I'm making this more complex, but ultimately, what you were saying was right. It's you're not paying the taxes on the appreciation of the asset, nor are you paying taxes on the depreciation, the tax savings component of it that you experienced to do it. So it gets kind of complex, hard to simplify, but ultimately, if you didn't do this and you sold properties, you got to pay taxes on the gains. The gains are made up of what you depreciated plus appreciation. If you go down the path of passing it along to your heirs, you get this beautiful thing called the step up in basis. And it basically just says whatever your basis was, but here it now is market value. And I'm way oversimplifying here. Yeah. But now you don't have to pay any taxes on the gains if you sold it right afterwards because the basis is higher.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So essentially, it sounds like somewhere in there, things cancel out so that you get to keep your money. Kind of like how I get to keep more of my cash flow every year with my rental property because I'm depreciating it year over year as well. There's a similar mechanism to that when it comes to inheritance, and it's called step up in basis, essentially.
I like that. It's
right.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right. So we'll do a deeper deep dive. Originally we're going to talk about the step up in basis. We're going to talk about kind of like the strategies. I was going to pick Greg's brain on how he thinks about it, right? Like Greg owns multiple rental properties. He's got 2 kids. I know that you're very heady about it. And we're going to talk about kind of like how to educate, how this like transition would work, how you're thinking about it, not from an expert standpoint, just from a pragmatist standpoint and like how you're thinking about it. So we'll do that in a future episode. I know that next week we are going to talk about, we recently did a comparison between the Memphis market and the Jacksonville market. And it raised a whole bunch of questions around the JWB Performa, right? Like how JWB analyzes properties and puts it forth to investors. So we're going to do a deep dive into the JWB Performa and the numbers that they have in it, where those numbers come from, why they're important, and why they're so different than like every other kind of like turnkey rental property provider. So I'm really, really pumped about that. That's another thing that the community really wanted. I'm looking at you, MJ Rada. I know that you wanted that one, so we're doing that for you, bud. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. GC, man, it's very clear to me when we open up a subject and you go down like a super nerdy rabbit hole and start kind of like figuring out the different things. I love it, man. Like I'm curious what the community thought of this, because this is usually I'm the guy that's like, hey, this is here. I'm going to go 1,000 yards down the field of like what's possible. And you're always the one kind of like, whoa, taking it back. This was a moment where you really took an idea and then you vision casted of like what's really, really possible around the new concept. And I took a lot from it. And I think these kinds of things in like an ever-changing world and an ever-changing environment, it's like what's going to be possible with real estate based on how things are changing and all this different, like these different lenses in the world are super valuable for the community to like start to get excited about not just the past, but the future. And I really appreciate it, man. I thought it was really cool.
I love it, man. I mean, I love this loop that we have, getting insight from the community. You come up with these show topics and then I get to fill in the gaps. And, when you connect something that combines how it can help a ton of people and specifically help kids and it mixes in investing, like I'm all in all day. 8 days a week, right? Totally. That's what motivates me. And so I love that you guys are here. Keep showing up. We'll keep doing what we do.
Yeah, cool. We had, I think, I don't know what the full number was because I was like enthralled in the storytelling, but we had 70, 80 people every single week so far. Lately, We had kind of gone down over the summer. It went down to 60. I think we got this like bump back of like summer's over. People are tagging back in. Our new normal is around 80 people. Let's see if we can get 100 people back,
awesome.
back to a new normal of 100 people. Tell your friends about the show. Send us ideas that you want to hear about, that you're hearing people asking you about real estate investing, specifically people doubting it, right? Like we love to kind of like take something that someone is saying, because the average advice out there is just not the lived experience of somebody doing it at your scale, seeing into the ecosystem. So bring us ideas as we are showing you. If you have a topic that's interesting to you, we will make a show about it, or we'll make part of a show about it and we'll talk about it, right? So like, thank you to the community who takes an hour out of your day, middle of a Tuesday, to show up here. I know sometimes it's impossible to come to every show, but you come back, Venny, right? Like, and you make time for this, and like, it just isn't the same without people here. I think it's what makes this thing so special. So thank you for coming here, GC. Thank you for the nerdy thought process that you put into this and the storytelling. I really, really enjoyed it, man.
I put the nerd in nerd, man. I'm there. Thank you guys.
Any advice for our community from now till the next show?